Great, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I think we have about half an hour to talk about a pretty interesting topic on future-proofing finance. I think for everyone here, we've seen that we're at a bit of an inflection point with many of the technology changes that were being adopted across the financial services industry today. And just thinking about how do we balance the adoption of technology with the ability to maintain trust with customers and the ability to transform organizations is something that I'm looking forward to speaking with you about, Frankie.
Yeah, great. So maybe I'll kick off by introducing myself first. So I'm Frankie, based in Singapore. I'm the APAC Chief Information Security Officer for DWS Group, which is a asset management arm of Deutsche Bank. So as a CISO, my job actually could be simplified into two sentences. Prepare for the worst, but pray for the best. So coming back to the theme today, just now you mentioned three keywords: innovation, trust, and resiliency. Actually, these are the three fundamental pillars actually in our digital transformations. So maybe we kick off the session by actually making it as interactive as possible. So yeah, to make fun for the audience as well. So when we talk about innovation, we do not actually, it's not it's not buzzwords. We have the foundation. We cannot forget. We still have to maintain and enhance them, which are our legacy infrastructure, our legacy system, our legacy data. So maybe we can kick off from the first question is from legacy to leadership, how institutions are upgrading the outdated systems and embedding resiliency into the core digital infrastructure. Maybe I'll start first, then you can carry on.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Maybe I share a few examples, then yeah, we can chit-chat. So some years ago, I was working in Citibank. Our then group CEO, Mr. Marco Pat, he said one thing about Citibank. He said, Citibank is not a bank, but an IT company with banking license. Interesting, similarly, in Singapore here, our DBS Bank, then group CEO, Mr. Prish Gupta, said a similar thing when he was interviewed by some, the fintech, to ask how DBS has been recognized as a global leader in the digital transformation in the financial industry. So Mr. Prish Gupta's answer is simple. He said, DBS Bank act less like a bank, but more like a tech company. So personally, I believe these two top guns in the financial industries, what they're sharing actually, it's the mindset motivation for the industry to think about digital transformation. Because in their eyes, digital transformation is not just about tech transformation. It is organizational, culture, and a mindset transformation. That's step one. Then step two come to the tech transformation. So I can share a few personal experience about the tech transformation I've been involved in the past many years. I would say that the transformation is not something actually, flying there. It should be sitting at the right time when there's a right technology is available. Why I say so is we look at for those core banking systems, I believe some of you are aware. So actually like those corporate bank or retail bank, we have a general ledger, which is used to record every single transactions. For example, in Singapore here, I believe most of us, when we were born, we have been opened a POSB bank. It has been merged with DBS Bank. But many years ago, every one of us, when we have a POSB bank, we will when we have a bank card, the bank will also give us a bank book. So every time when we go to the branch or go to the ATM machines, actually, it's quite often we will bring out each and every transaction from the last time we log into the ATM machine or last time we visit the branch. It used to be happen at the time, but now actually because of the paperless, because of digital transformation, this is no more existing, but still available. This kind of the transaction, money in, money out, actually is the credit or debit, actually is at the back end is actually done by our bank's core banking system. But this kind of the core banking system, actually, it's very complex. And the programming language, most of the time, it was written using the COBOL, which is almost 50 years ago. Because I remember when I joined Citibank a number of years ago, I have a chit-chat with the programmer. He said, nowadays in the whole bank, although in Citibank or some other big banks, we are so big, but we have very, very small people could really understand those old school language code and can still maintain and make it functioning. That's why no one's scared to touch or change it, because they just let it run, just pray, nothing happen, because it's too complex. No one, every single change, if not done properly, actually the whole general ledger, the whole core banking system will done. That's frustrating. But with the AI, especially generative AI's fast movement in the past 2 years, we have seen the news that there are more and more banks are thinking or even planning or executing the actually reshift of their core banking system. They are using generative AI large language model to help them rewrite actually the core bank. These are 50 years old the codes into the modern language codes. So it is happening. So we can see that because when the generative AI is ready in the past 2 years, we can actually now look at 50 years ago the codes. In the past 48 years, we cannot do so. But why only these 2 years we can do is because the AI, our technology is at the right stage at the right time. The last point I want to share is it's about technology is good, but do not be, how to say, for the sake of technology or for the sake of AI, for the sake of cloud or for the sake of blockchain. You need to really look at your real operation, your real business purpose, and your real markets, your real clients. And for example, for the cloud, we know it has been hot topic in the past few years. A lot of financial industries have gone through the cloud migration journeys, but we're at a different phase. Can we say 100% on the cloud is good or less on the cloud is bad? No, as I mentioned that. But we do have certain actually financial institutions already 100% put a data system on the cloud, nothing in their house. For example, the US credit card company called Capital One, which is one of the top 10 actually credit card financial institution in US. In a few years ago, they already 100% migrate their system data into the cloud. But in APAC, especially in some regional or domestic banks, all this that we can say on average, they only have 20 or maybe 30% of the data system on the cloud. Majority are still hosting their on-premise. Can we say they are bad? No, because they are fit for their purpose. They are fit for their markets. So I take pause here. I talk too much.
No, I think it's super interesting, Frankie, and I think it's great because I mean, we bring maybe a little bit of a different perspective here, since your background is obviously much more around managing and implementing a lot of these solutions, and I'm much more around investing into companies, technology companies that are maybe in a sense working with some of the more traditional companies in the sector. And so maybe, as we talk a little bit more about AI, which I'm sure is going to be a pretty big theme for the event today, how are you thinking about balancing between, as you mentioned, stability for the system, which I think is the overarching priority for every company in this sector, versus the kind of the innovation and the ability to really get much more value from the technology?
So your question is about the trade-off or balance, right?
Yeah.
So actually it's come to my last point just now. So there's no right or wrong, and do not just go for the sake of actually the buzzwords. And a simple example is, because I'm in the technology world of the financial industry, a few years ago, every time when I talk to the suppliers, they will show me their new solution is AI native, AI enabled. Cloud native, cloud enabled. Everyone will talk about cloud. But nowadays, when I meet those kind of the service providers, actually, cloud is by default. They will not mention anymore. Anyone is talking about AI, but it's AI enabled, AI native. But the thing is, let's take a step back. Are we really everything need AI? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. That is one point. Second point is our every team in our organization is really ready for this kind of migration. As every team, they really actually feel passion, feel optimistic. Because to be honest, someone, especially in the operation team, I'm very honest, they worry about this kind of new technology, right? Because every time when there's a new technology coming, sounds good for the business, they can have more channels to engage clients. They can have some more actually the digital enabled solutions for the clients. And for the technology team, it also sounds good because we have actually the new initiatives we can roll out. But we have a large, would say that the resource in our financial institution, their operations team, to be honest, sometimes they are scared of this kind of the digital transformation. So how we should enable them to be also to be ready for this new wave. So a few months ago, DBS Bank, our local bank, also shared they are going to retrench 4,000 contract staff in the next few years because with the help of AI, so some repetitive work could be done. But then in the next few days, they also announced they are going to reskill, upskill their existing 13,000 staff. And not long ago, they say the scope will be expanded. So this is a good signal because at the end of the day, no matter technology how it's involved, it's the people behind. People need to be equipped. People need to be mastered. People need to treat the machine as co-pilot. People is not a slave. And let me share the one real example is I was a few years ago working in one financial institutions. At the time when we were trying to roll out the robotics IPA, so which is, I would say that very early version of the AI. It still could be considered as AI, but it is not generative AI. It is a first, let's say, version of the AI. It is how to, let's say, automate the repetitive work in the operation world. So at the time, so our actually company, the top management make a very smart decision. This time, this kind of the digital transformation was not leading by the IT department, but leading by the operational department, so that they can select some talents within the operational team, so train them to be able to master how to do using the simple language. It's very simple. It's not as complex as a Python or whatever that is advanced computing language, but simple robotics language. Plus, what they already have, the domain knowledge of the business process, so that to combine these two, they can quickly rewrite, actually streamline, and make the current operational process much, much more efficient. That is good for the company. But on the personal side, on the personal skill development side, they feel actually empowered because they're not just doing the daily routine, key in, key out, copy and paste job for operation staff. But unfortunately, most of them, they are doing this today. But they have the opportunity to learn the new robotics, the programming language. They're able to connect the dots, re-streamline their process. And this will be actually very useful, the skill set for them. Not just only in their existing, but they can roll out to other teams, other departments, or even maybe good for them, even they are switch the company or whatever. That's why we see it's compared to the past digital initiative transformation journey. We see a lot of pushback on the operation department, but this time is very welcomed by the operation department. So that's a good decision at the time when we roll out. That's why I come back to the point at the beginning I said is all this kind of transformations, no matter it's a business driven or technology driven or whatever thing, end of the day, we should let our people feel they are empowered, feel they are not being forgotten, and they have the good opportunity with the help of the technology. Yeah, that's my personal view.
No, look, I think that's a really important point, and I mean I think, you know, like beyond just fintech and beyond just AI, but finance and beyond just AI, but like if you think about, you know, broadly what has been like kind of the consumerization of certain technologies within a business setting, like for example, people adopting Dropbox to do cloud, and I think we've seen some of that with you know, the adoption of different AI-related operational processes as well. So it could be, you know, like a sales team that's adopting something for kind of the agentic kind of a value, or it could be, you know, operating compliance team adopting a certain part of that. I think if it's driven, you know, equally from bottom up as well as top down, then it's much more likely to be actually you know, embraced rather than something that's kind of forced onto the organization.
Yeah, fully agree. Yeah.
Maybe if we talk a little bit about the customer experience side, and how customer experience is able to build trust and loyalty within kind of within the current context. Currently, what is the biggest trust gap that you see between financial institutions and customers right now?
So actually, at the beginning, we mentioned about actually for our first session, the same is actually the 3 keywords: innovation, trust, and resiliency. And the trust, to be honest, is a foundation of everything, especially for our financial industry, because we are the licensed actually entities to run our business. We need to maintain, earn, and enhance the trust between us and the clients, between us and the regulators, right? So it's not something it's easily to earn, but it is something we have to keep it to demonstrate. Coming back to maybe I can talk about customer experience from my own domain, which is security domains. So we can see that customer experience driven transformation is shifting. And especially we have seen that there's enhancing the digital trust through the personalization, through the empathy, through the frictionless customer journey. But from the technology, from a security perspective, I would say that we need to, the role is critical. We have to balance the business innovation and security risk in a safe, sound, and compliant way. Let me share one example. Is about the online. Is about the bank hotline, the authentication. So in Singapore here, so a few years ago, if we are the retail bank customers, if you have some inquiries, so we will make a hotline phone call to the bank. At the time, most of the time, it's still the customer service, the real person sitting there, it's not AI. But every time when you call the bank's hotline, the first thing they will ask you is, provide your NIC number, share your birth date, or your personal information. Then as an authentication, right? Even including you have to key in your bank credit card numbers. All these are required so that the bank, the hotline at their side could authenticate you. To be honest, it is a must, but it is, there's some kind of friction. Every time when I make call line, I have to key in this. I have to share this kind of information. Is there any way to improve this customer experience? Yes, it happened. A few years ago, actually, we can see that in our Singapore, the financial sectors, a few banks, the hotlines, they already roll out it's called a biometric authentication, which means the bank will get your consent for the first time, saying they're recording your voice when you are called the hotline. Next time, when you call the hotline again, you don't have to provide all this kind of necessary information because they already record your voice. They will, in the back end, they will compare next time when you call them, your voice on the phone line with their record. Then they will do the security check. They will do the matching. Once it's matched, automatically you will be authenticated. So they will prove, actually, you will call them, immediately they will know, after I just say a few words, say hello, blah, 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 they know I'm Frankie. So they can immediately answer my inquiries or whatever. This is a very, I would say that small change, but it's a good actually example of customer experience enhancement. But nowadays, maybe today after this conference, you can have a try. If you call the bank's hotline, no matter which bank, I don't want to mention the name, certain you are given the option, this covers the biometric authentication. Why the bank is moving away? This is a customer experience, actually the good initiative. Come back to the traditional way you have to provide the necessary authentication information. It's because the AI-enabled cyber attacks has been evolving so fast. Microsoft recently shared industry, let's say, research. They find with the current AI technology, the bad guys only need 3 seconds to record your voice. Then they can generate a totally new, but faked, the new audio clip. Only need 3 seconds. You can see imagine how advanced the current AI technology could be leveraged by the bad guys. And that's why those kind of the voice authentication becomes risky because AI technology is advanced so fast, is running faster than the traditional, actually the biometric authentication. That's why we can see there's a shift of this, the customer experience because of the technology change. Technology is not always coming for good, but if it is actually mastered by the bad guys, has some negative impact on us. So this is one example I want to share. Another example I want to share is from the technology perspective, when we roll out actually the customer initiative experience, we need to make sure it is, as I mentioned, into the safe, sound, and compliant manner. Not everything we say no, but we should take at the context it is, the jurisdiction is, the industry is. Let me share an example. Not long ago, I have some travel to China. So I have personal habit. Every time when I travel globally in any city, I like to visit two places. One is a library, another is a bookstore. I want to explore to some local, the unique bookstore, unique libraries. So at that time, I traveled to one of the China city. Actually, it's not very big city. It's not Beijing, Shanghai. This is a tier 1 city. Actually, it's a tier 2, tier 3 cities. I walk into their bookstore at the day because I was traveling. I have a heavy bag with me. I saw there's a locker there. It's quite common. Then I'll try to put the bag inside the locker. I noticed one thing interesting is it is not something like the locker in our Singapore. You go to Sentosa or some other place, you have locker. So they will the locker will give you key something, they'll give you a paper stick, tell your number. Later you could use the same number to take out your bag. For them they are quite advanced. They only have one small screen. They do not have any the keys or I do not have to put my coins. They just scan my face. Immediately they open one available locker. I can put my bag inside. Then after I walking around in the bookstore, came back. They just scan my face again. Then the same locker window will open. I take out my bag. So from this angle, I know there's a lot of debate about the facial recognition, especially when the EU AI Act, which is globally the first AI law, was live on 2nd February this year. There's a lot of debate whether the facial recognition should be rolling out and how it could be rolling out. Personally, I believe it's already rolling out in many scenarios in many countries, but it is really a risk-based approach how to roll out. For the example I just shared, you walk into the bookstore, you put your bag, and then you come out. There's no financial transaction involved. It's purely the retail, the customer experience. So that's why it's a very low risk. It is acceptable in China. At that time, I believe they are still acceptable. But if it is a high-risk transaction, facial recognition, if it is used by the government for the social scoring or differentiate the different risk group, from the EU AI Act perspective, as I mentioned, they just live in February this year, it is not allowed because they consider this as the high unacceptable risk. So that's why coming back to us, it's the same situation, the technology innovation, same rolling out. We need to look at the context, which jurisdiction you are, which sector you are, whether it is compliant or not compliant, what is the risk, how much is and also even it is compliant, whether your banks, your own risk appetite can support this or not. So that's why there's no right or wrong answer, but it's really need to look at the context, how to enable the transformation, how to really bring the value to your customers.
No, that's really interesting. And I just have one follow-up question to that as well. Just as you were talking, I was just thinking about, you're saying that, the adoption of technology obviously is dependent on the use case and, the level of risk in a sense from a customer perspective. But as you think about adopting AI in different use cases, I think, people have different reactions to that as well, right? In terms of their willingness to accept a recommendation or a result from that. And so what's your viewpoint on how do you balance between letting people, adopting it obviously for increasing personalization, for fraud detection, for compliance, or at the same time giving people, I guess, the comfort that what we're doing is going to be still compliant with like data privacy, with governance, with kind of their comfort level.
Obviously, the simple answer is it depends. So let's look back. AI is not new in our financial industry, especially for our risk department and some kind of the tech department. We have been using an HR department. We have been using for a number of years. So across industries, we see that because these departments, they have heavy data to deal with. And a lot of times the data patterns are repetitive. That's why you can use the automation, you can use a simple AI to do. But now what we talk about is particular, I would say that is a generative AI, or next phase, which is agentic AI. And what does this mean? For example, this morning, I took a Grab to come to the hotel. And the Grab we all know actually Grab, they are quite advanced. They will tell you the route, the predefined route, and tell you how many minutes your driver will be coming. And even you arrive your car, then they tell you roughly estimation how many minutes you can reach to your destination. So how the Grab, they are able to actually capture this kind of information and share with you. This is actually, it's kind of the prescriptive AI, which is actually, it's not something new. It has been live there for a while. But nowadays, what we're talking about is more like the generative AI, which is something forecast, something not happen, and using whatever information we have in the past. But next phase is even more advanced, so which is agentic AI, which means like the robotics. So because it's not just a Q&A, but currently for no matter the ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever, is most of the time our usage is we input our questions, so-called promote, come the answer, some kind of recommendations. So this is like the Web 2.0. It's a Web 3.0 version, which is more like the agentic AI, which is something actually already, the whole process AI will be taken care of. That's why in the few days ago, the ChatGPT 5, when ChatGPT 5 was live, I personally hasn't tried. It's out that it's already opened the window to see of next generation's the agentic AI. So coming back to our industry about usage, it's still either so that it's really the context dependent, and because at the end of the day, technology has no boundary. But every one of us, we are sitting in the country. There's a boundaries, there's a law, there's a regulation. We have to comply for good reason. And we look at the world, actually it's quite diverse. Look at the US. US actually they changed the focus of the AI. And just a few months ago, during the ex-president time, we see that they have rolled out the AI risk, actually the president executive order 14110. And at the national level, US, they don't have AI law. It's more up to the individual, the respective, the sector and individual state, like the California. They have their own state AI law, their own state data privacy law. But not at the US national level. But as a contrast, if you look at the for European Union, all the 27 country members in the EU, you have the obligation, which is a legal obligation, to be compliant with data privacy law, which is a GDPR, and latest, which is AI law, which is EU AI Act, and they also have actually the EU Data Act as well. So I would say that is quite, the intention is good, I'll say that, and they try to protect the citizenship, the rights, but how to balance, that's another topic. But look at our Asia here. Our Asia is quite diverse. And so far in our whole Asia, we only have South Korea. They have the AI law, which is called the Korea AI Basic Law, only live actually a few months ago. And in China, they do not have the law for govern AI, but they have the administrative, actually the measure to govern, especially for generative AI. Actually, they are the first country in the world. Come to the Singapore, I would say that where our government is quite, looking at from the risk-based approach, look at how to promote, how to balance both innovation and the risk governance. That's why we can see that, for example, for our financial sector, our MS, they do have actually the AI principle, which is a FEAT principle. I believe some of you are already very familiar. F stands for fairness, E stands for ethics, A stands for accountability, and T stands for transparency. So which set the tone us when we roll out AI, no matter we in-house develop our own AI, or we subscribe to those tech companies, a large language model, or we have the hybrid model, actually deploy their model into our house. So we need to fulfill this kind of the requirements to make sure our AI model is transparent. We can explain where the output come from and trace back if there's a need. That's why I know actually some financial institutions, they already roll out their in-house, actually the large language models, the chatbox, to allow the employee, and they can easily actually search the company policies. And because we know that it's a very heavy, a lot of, so for some kind of the new initiatives, we do not know whether it's not allowed any particular restriction where they take care of, so they can easily use the company in-house chat to find what are the requirements, so to fulfill. Just a few examples. And other departments, HR departments, they already use to how to say provide the customers training, risk department, all this. A lot of examples they are coming. Yeah, I think we are running out of time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're ending actually just perfectly on time right now. But Frankie, thank you so much. I think it was really interesting to hear a lot of your insights on this topic.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.